When actor Paul Giamatti was working with film director Paul Mazursky on the 1998 HBO biopic Winchell, he mentioned his formative years in Seattle. Mazursky stopped him. Every artist, Mazursky said, has a Seattle in their past, that singular place where everything came together, pure and unfettered, before the world got complicated. For Giamatti, it was literally Seattle, more specifically, a second-floor walk-up on 4th Avenue in Belltown, where an adventurous collective called Annex Theatre was doing things no one else dared to do. It gave me everything, he says. I'm not a guy who uses the word magical a lot, but it really was. He wasn't alone. Starting in 1986, the boards at Annex boasted an improbable roster. Playwrights whose words later helped bring to life the Netflix series Stranger Things and the musical Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, Wier Harmon, who went on to lead Town Hall Seattle, and Allison Narver, who continues to direct plays in major theaters across the country. As Annex's artistic director from 1989 to 1995, she habitually booked bands nobody had heard of. We told audiences they had to watch the play first, Narver says. Then they could stay for the music. The bands included Nirvana. It was, as celebrated composer and musician Chris Jeffries puts it, a pirate ship. Everybody divvied up equal shares of buried treasure and the risk. In the 1980s and 90s, Seattle was less expensive. Failure meant setback rather than ruin, and the city was alive with scrappy little black box theaters in garages, walk-ups, and former funeral homes. From a pact made by Bainbridge Island high school students who scattered to colleges with a promise to return with recruits, Annex was born. Somehow that pact endured. Recently, founders and current stewards gathered on the Annex stage to compare notes across 40 years. Their spirit, remarkably, is unbroken. For the collective, on Capitol Hill since 2007, the model endures. New plays are still chosen by company vote. The artistic director, managing director, and marketing director are still volunteers, each holding down a full-time job elsewhere while running Annex. The question is, does Seattle still have a Seattle? The troupe remains passionate about presenting new plays on a shoestring, but funding sources have dried up. Audiences are smaller since COVID, and live theater everywhere is under siege. As managing director Stephen McCandless puts it, it's easier to stay home and watch a rerun of The Office. Going forward, Narver says, takes bravery. The same bravery that built something worth inheriting. If this is a pirate ship, says artistic director Lucien Oberleitner, there's a lot of mercy on the high seas. In our first then photo, Brian Finney left and Paul Giamatti in Some Things You Need to Know Before the World Ends, a final evening with the Illuminati by Eddie Lee at Annex Theatre in Seattle's Belltown neighborhood circa 1990. Giamatti considers Finney one of the greatest actors I've ever known. In our second then photo, the Annex Theatre marquee at 1916 4th Avenue, Seattle in the early 1990s. For 14 years, the second-floor former Fred Astaire dance studio hosted dozens of world premieres and post-show rock concerts. In our first now photo, on the set of Disappearance at Rocky Mountain Leather Dyke Snow Picnic, a recent show at Annex Theatre, are founders and current stewards. From left, Justin Lauer, Chris Jeffries, Allison Narver, Lucien Oberleitner, and Stephen McCandless. In our second now photo, Chris Jeffries and Allison Narver, who's pointing towards Annex's former second-floor Belltown location. Narver went on to serve as resident director of The Lion King on Broadway and in London, then as artistic director of the Empty Space Theatre, and recently directed Mary Jane at Seattle Rep.